running from the bad guy. I'ma stare him in the eye like, what's up?
Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in for another episode of My Story of My Strength 365-day challenge, a space I created for myself to point out my healing journey, as well as show the world and my community that healing is not easy. It's very powerful. It is very possible. But the things that we have to go through to get over some of the things we had to deal with in our trauma, it's not going to be as easy as we think. So let's get started. I had to get that thought in there, you guys. This episode, starting with the trigger warning, contains narratives involving teen coercion and inappropriate teenage sexual acts, reckless endangerment, emotional manipulation, car accident, physical injuries, psychological fear, peer pressure, trauma from silence, and survivor's guilt. If such topics are triggering, please proceed with care or consider pausing or stopping for emotional readiness. So, I've opened up about so many things, and I wanted to start off by saying thank you. Thank you all for standing with me on this journey. I know that it's only been about a month and a half, closer to 2 months, but just in this little bit of time, I've seen power in sharing my story of resilience and strength with you all. It's not easy. I have to reopen parts of me that I thought were closed and I never wanted to revisit again. This is how we heal. We see our struggles and we understand how we fought to overcome them, even when we don't realize that we're fighting in the moment. We don't realize that in that moment we're fighting to heal. So thank you so much for being a part of my healing journey. Thank you for being such a big part of my healing journey. So now let's go. In this memory, I will talk about a time when I was afraid to speak up, a time that I was so terrified, but I was told to stay silent. And I was scared about what would happen if I did it. It was a night that I was hanging out with someone who was kind of like a friend of mine. She wasn't really a friend. She was somebody, I would say, more of an associate. She had a really bad reputation. She was really promiscuous, but I mean, I didn't care about that. That's your life. I don't judge people for how they live their lives. That didn't affect me. She wasn't pulling me into that life. So, I was just trying to get to know her and possibly gain another friend. This was my first time, the first time I made the decision to cut someone out of my life, though, because I did end up cutting her out of my life after this situation. I was about 15 years old. At this time, I was deep in the streets. I was deep in gang activity. I was deep in running away from home. I had already been through so much that it was just like, I had my mask of, my armor of whatever, whatever we put on, of surviving on, there we go, to get through whatever I needed to get through. So, and then me and this girl, basically, we were walking down the street. We were just kind of walking around. We didn't really want anything. It was maybe 9-10 o'clock at night, maybe a little later than that. And then a car pulled up to us, and there were two guys that I knew from the neighborhood, and they asked if we wanted to go to a party with them. I said no, I'm good, because again, I've been through enough to understand that I don't care how much I've known you, how long I've known you, I'm not getting in the car with you. But she said, yeah, I'll go. And I didn't feel right letting her get in the car along with two men. And she was about the same age as me, maybe a year younger. And these were adults. Both of them were grown. So I agreed to get in the car with her, and we left. They took us to another side of town, about 20 minutes away from where we were at. About a 2-hour walk, though, if it, maybe longer, honestly. But we got to the house, and there was no one there. It was dark. And they said they were just making a quick stop before we went to the so-called party. Because at this point, I'm like, oh, there's no damn party. They trying to play us. I knew it was bullshit. I knew. But they knew not to disrespect me. They knew me enough to know how far to go and what to do with me. And I really felt like that whole night was about them doing something with her. One of the guys, he called my friend to the back. And he was like, I just want to talk to you and show you something. She knew what was going on. I knew what was going on. I told her, like, you don't have to do this. And she was like, she expressed that that's what she wanted to do. So, okay. The other guy, he was like, you want to go outside? Because he already knew. He seen me the way I was postured that it was not going to happen. So he's like, you just want to go sit outside for a little bit. So we go outside. We sit on the front porch and we just talk, because, again, I knew them. So we were just talking about things, what was going on in the neighborhood, how my sister was doing, how our cousin was doing, whatever. And I kind of got lost in the time. We sat outside for almost an hour before they came out. I knew that they just got through having sex. Her hair was a little messy. She's adjusting her clothes, but again, I didn't judge. I didn't stop to think about the fact that this man was like in his 20s, having sex with a girl who was probably 14, 15 years old. I was just trying to get through this situation. And again, I never judge anyone, at least in my age, for what they were doing. And at the time, I was safe. She was safe. She did what she wanted. But this is when things started to go bad. They said they needed to go change cars, but we needed to stay there for a few minutes away for them to come pick us up to take us to this party. And I'm just like, shit. I in my head I knew they were leaving us up there, but she thought they were going to come back. And it's now after 1 in the morning, so I don't believe that there was even ever a party. And I told her this, which is why I didn't want to get in the car with them. She tried to assure me that things would be okay. No, they're going to be right back. They're going to be right back. I told her, I said, if they're not back in 5 minutes, we can start walking now. We'll be back to my house before the sun comes up. But she wanted to wait. So about these guys, they are known for having nice cars, really nice cars with the hydraulics. They make them dance. I love them. They're so beautiful, nice paint jobs, interior, beautiful. I mean, they were beautiful. Um, and they had their car parked in the yard. One of the cars parked in the yard. I mean, these cars were in parades. They were in car shows. Like they were really, really nice cars. And I just kind of give you an example of what happened and why things escalated to what happened. So before they left, the only rule they gave us that we can go sit in the house if we want to go make us something to eat. We can sit on the front porch. Do not get in that car. Do not get in that car. I said, okay, because I already know I have uncles and family members who are mechanics. I know how much effort it takes to put into building a car, to rebuilding a car from scratch. And a lot of times that's what they would do. They would get cars from the junkyard. They would rebuild these cars from scratch. So I knew to respect that because, come on now. But she felt like I just gave my little yaya up to this man. He can't tell me what to do. So she says, I'm going to sit in this car. And I'm like, no, please don't do this. Don't do that. I'm grabbing her arm, trying to pull her away. And I didn't realize the whole time they were sitting at the corner at the stop sign watching us. I'm pulling her. No, trying to stop her. She gets loose. She's like, I'm sitting in this car. And I'm just like, I'm telling you, don't do this. She started to it became too much. So I put my hands in the air and I said, you know what? Do what you're going to do. But that what they said, and if they come back and see you in this car, I mean, I don't know what they're going to do. So she gets in the car anyway. And she's putting her hands on the steering wheel, pretending like she's driving. She leaves the door open. And I'm like, get out. I'm talking to her. And I don't notice that they've backed up and parked right in front of the house. They jump off the car. They snatch her out of the car. They cussing her out. Bitch did not tell you not to get in this car. You disrespectful. You this, you that. And they turn and look at me. Hey, we leaving her here. We're going to take you home now. Because they knew where I lived. Again, they knew me. If you want to ride, you better get in this car now. If you want to ride, you better get in this car. And I looked at her. They're like, no, don't look at her. Either you're getting left here with her or you're going to go home. And again, I'm 15 years old. I'm like, I'm not trying to walk. So I left. I get in the car because in my head, as an adult, I really feel horrible about this. But as a child, I was like, no. I told her not to do that. She was told by these people. She disrespected them, so I got in the car. I knew they weren't going to do anything because one of them already did what he needed to do, and the other made it clear that you're good, you're safe with me. I'm not going to do anything. So I get in the car. They start to take me home. We go down this street. We call it the road. It's a street where everybody go to hang out. People go drink, party, smoke weed, smoke crack, sell weed, sell, yaya, whatever they're trying to sell or smoke. But it was the area to be at, basically, in that neighborhood. These guys were known to, do donuts in the middle of the street, do tricks with their cars. And they started to do that once we got on the street. They see that the street was full of people. It was full of people, excuse me. So they're doing donuts in the street. I never liked when people did that in the cars with me. It wasn't the first time I've been in the car with someone doing that, and I never liked it. This time kind of proved why I didn't like that, because as they're doing these donuts in the middle of the street, the car then loses control, hits the curb, and then just flips. I cannot tell you how many times the car flipped over, but it flips. Um, when it was done flipping, and thankfully it didn't stay on the side or upside down. It landed on its four tires, all four tires, and we all get out of the car. No one's seriously hurt, but I can feel that my ribs are cracked at the very least because I've had my ribs broken before, so I knew what it felt like. My neck is stiff, my head is throbbing, feels because my head is bouncing all over the place. I hit my head on whatever I hit my head on, back, front, side. I'm banging my head all over the place. So my head is throbbing. I could have had a concussion. My neck is messed up. I don't know what kind of damage is in my body. First thing they tell me is you better not say you were in this car. And I'm looking at them and they're like, you better not say you were in this car. I didn't realize then they probably were afraid of the fact that I was a child and these were grown men and they had me in the car. They took me across the street where they called the police to come get the car towed. You know, they did the right things, called the insurance company, called the police. And I'm standing there. They brought me some food and I'm just standing there and the police looked at me and they see me struggling to breathe. And they see that I looked like I had just gotten either beat up or something. They asked me, I'm okay. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. And I did what they told me to do. I lied to the police. I told them I wasn't in the car because, again, I don't know what these guys are going to do. They know where I live. You know, they know where my mom lives. And I don't care what kind of relationship I have with my mom. I don't want her to die. I don't want my baby sister, my stepdad. They're all in this house. I don't want these guys to come in there and do anything to me or my family because I didn't do what they asked, because they were also in the gang and they were also very affiliated and they were not anyone to play with, which is what I tried to explain to this girl when she got in that car. I said, okay. So everything happened. The police was done. I'm eating the food, trying to, pretend like I'm out of the way. I'm also on probation for that fight I told you about in the previous episode. So I'm afraid that I'm going to juvenile hall for violating because it is well after my curfew. But they didn't run my name. They didn't ask me any more questions. They took all the information and then they left. The guy had another car brought to him and they just took me home. And that was the end of that night. But I mean, I felt so guilty about leaving this girl across town. And I was just all over the place. That night was all over the place. And I was just like, oh my goodness. I never got in the car with them again because, again, I knew. I'm like, no, don't get in the car. But, she wanted to do what she wanted to do. And I didn't feel right leaving her. So, identify the wound. You start believing that your body belonged to fear, not to you. I felt guilt amplified times 10, believing that protecting others meant sacrificing my own truth. And I thought I was protecting myself by getting in the car. I internalized shame for needing help while keeping secrets. Silence felt safer than honesty. And I believed vulnerability invited danger and that my voice was too risky to use. So here's my reflection question to you. What truths have you hidden out of fear? And how long have you carried that silence as a way to survive? Because this is honestly the very first time I've spoken about this out loud ever. Both of those guys have passed away, so I know I'm safe. And that's not the reason why. Rest in peace. But I've never said anything. So my negative mindset is I lied to hide the truth and sacrifice my voice and my safety because I don't know what kind of internal damage that could have been done to keep others safe. And that makes me complicit. I'm just as guilty as they were because they know they were wrong. And I had to reframe that and understand that choosing silence was a protective strategy. Sometimes survival demands secrecy. It doesn't erase the courage or value. I acted from instinct and not weakness. So I wasn't, and I was a child again. I didn't know what to do. So an affirmation from that is I'm not defined by the silence that I carried. I am defined by the strength it took to survive. My truth is rising now. So we're on our mini session coping tool skill, and this is a neuro linguistic programming or NLP tool type called safety anchoring with guided self dialogue. So you sit quietly in a space and place one hand over your heart. Take slow breaths and repeat, I was afraid, but I was brave. I was afraid, I was brave. Then you start to say, now I am safe and my voice matters. Now I am safe and my voice matters. For each repeated statement, gently tap your chest. Oh, tap, I keep saying tap your chest or your heart your heart center, or press your thumb and your forefinger together. I like the tapping. I like that. Practice this 2 times daily for 2 minutes to retrain your brain and your body to associate courage. Now, here's our 1 minute empowerment challenge. It's uncover your voice challenge. Stand in a quiet space and speak this sentence out loud. My voice matters. My truth can no longer wait. Then write that sentence down of your truth. No editing. Write a sentence down of your truth. Like, this is my truth. I lied about being in that car, but I was really in that car. Write it down. Do not edit it. I did not edit that. I told it exact truth. Tear it up immediately. And that is a symbolic of releasing shame. This is your voice, not your pain. So now we're on to our survivor spotlight. And I would like to shout out a Mr. Eugene Henley, or Big U, as he's known as. Big U, his name carries weight in Los Angeles. Not just because not because of his past, but because of the radical transformation he chose to make surviving in the streets, uh, after surviving the streets that nearly consumed him. Born and raised in South Central Los Angeles during the height of the crack epidemic and the gang wars, Big U became deeply enriched in the violent world of the Crips gang from a young age. Surrounded by poverty, broken systems, and constant need for survival, he rose through the ranks of one of the most feared gangs in the city. He was a street gang general. He was a street general, navigating the world where survival came at the cost of blood, loyalty, and silence. But beneath the hardened exterior was a young black man shaped by systematic neglect, community abandonment, and lack of opportunity. The streets didn't just raise Big U; they held him hostage. And like many black boys and many black children in underserved neighborhoods, because I was in the same situation, he was criminalized early, stereotyped, and locked in a cycle where death or incarceration felt inevitable. Eventually, his choices led to some prison time, years behind bars that could have hardened him even further. But something changed. Behind those walls, Big U began to reflect. He began to see the damage he'd done, the generations of boys following in his footsteps, and the pieces of himself lost to the life that he once glorified. When he was released, many expected him to return to the same violence, and the same chaos. But instead, Big U did something revolutionary. He chose redemption. He chose rebuilding over revenge, community over control, and legacy over fear. He founded Developing Options, a nonprofit organization focused on violence prevention, education, and gang intervention, and creating real paths for at-risk youth. He became a mentor to young people across LA, especially those who looked like him. He talked, he who looked like him, talked like him, and were headed down the same road he once walked. Sorry, he collaborated with law enforcement, schools, and fellow former gang members to interrupt the cycle of violence from the inside out. Big U is not a perfect man. None of us are perfect. He's a real man who's owned his past while rewriting his future. He used his street credibility to not glorify the life, but to help kids escape it before it became too late for them. His impact reaches into schools, juvenile halls, music studios, and neighborhoods once written off. He doesn't just preach from a distance. He stayed and stays in the trenches because he knows that's where the healing must begin. Big U survived the streets that swallowed generations of black boys and girls whole. He survived the trauma of growing up in a war zone where friends became enemies and bullets answered questions no one wanted to ask. He survived incarceration, gang retaliation, and the weight of leading a life built on pain. He survived a system designed to use him, break him, and throw him away. But instead of becoming another name on a tombstone or a number in the system, he became a vessel for transformation. Big U didn't just walk away from the gang life. He turned back and pulled out others. He turned trauma into testimony, violence into vision, and pain into purpose. He is living proof that redemption is possible when someone believes in rebuilding what was once broken. So to Big U, thank you for not letting your past define your future. Thank you for staying in your community when it would have been easier to run. Thank you for turning your survival into service and for using your power to protect what once tried to destroy you. You remind us that the hood doesn't just need saving; it needs leaders that who knows its heartbeat. You are the blueprint of how street credibility can become street salvation. We see you, we respect you, and we honor you. So you just heard a truth most people would run from, but you didn't. You stayed, you listened, and you made it this far. And if you made it this far, then something inside of you knows the weight of silence, the sting of guilt, and the ache of surviving in a world that never asked you what you needed to feel safe. Every day I open wounds that never got to scab or heal, just so that another survivor knows out there knows they're not invisible. But this platform doesn't run on applause, it runs on purpose. And if you believe that this kind of truth telling needs space in the world, then you need to help us keep this space open. Please subscribe to Empowered Voices, Finding Strength in Survivors for more of these daily challenges that push pain into power. Tune into my podcast every Friday night, which is tonight, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. It's Insights of a Survivor, where we peel back the mask and tell the unfiltered truth for myself and from my guests. Tune in and catch the realest conversations with Raw and Real, my collab with All Up, every last Saturday of each month, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. And get healing with my sister, Coach Kiss, every Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on her show, Kiss Corner, because soft strength is still amplified and it's still strength. Please, please don't miss out on reading my book, A Place to Belong by Pari, Jasper. A hauntingly powerful story about a young Black girl who fought through hell to find herself in a world that tried to erase her. This work isn't just content, it's community repair. If you've been moved or shaken, if you've seen anything I've shared, if it's reached you in any type of way, please donate to support the work that's been helping the survivors reclaim their power, or sponsor this movement to help us reach millions still suffering in silence. Your contribution isn't charity, it's a declaration. We see you, you matter, and you're not alone. You're not alone. So just please, please help us reach those who are in the space of emptiness and feel invisible and feel alone. This mission is for the ones told to be quiet, for the ones whose truth never fit into a hashtag, for those like me rebuilding from the ruins and making it count. The links are below in the details. Don't scroll past. Click them, share them, stand out with us, heal with us, because your story doesn't end in pain, it begins in power. I will see you tomorrow for another unapologetic, uncut, unforgettable truth. I love you all. Stay strong, stay loud, and stay free.
Heard you looking for a hero. Well, look up. No more running from the bad guy. I'ma stare him in the eye like, what's up? I know the journey got hard for a minute, but I ain't giving this up. Yeah, I got the heart of a champion. If I get knocked down, I